basic properties of solids and the types of solids, right? Now, in this video, we'll be discussing about the classification of crystalline solids. We are going to study only about crystalline solids in detail. So we have four types of crystalline solids which we have to study. See, we have four types. Number one is ionic solids. We'll discuss each one of the solids one by one. Then we have metallic solids. See, if you read these solids from NCERT, they have given, like, I have arranged them in a tabular form so that the comparison becomes easier for you. In NCERT, they have given the description in paragraphs. So after watching this video, you can go through your NCERT also. And the last type is molecular solids. After this slide, we will be discussing about the types of. We have three types of molecular solids. We'll also be discussing about the types of molecular solids. So we have four types, that is ionic solids, metallic solids, covalent solids, and molecular solids. So now the first reference is the constituent particles, right? As the name suggests, in case of ionic solids, the constituent particles are ions, that is cation or anion. There are two types of ions, cation and anion. Second, we have in this metallic solids, the constituent particles are metal atoms. For example, iron, copper, silver. These are the constituent particles. Covalent solids. Now, in case of covalent solids, you must have studied about covalent compounds in class 11th also. What covalent compounds? Here the atoms are non-metal atoms. We have non-metal atoms. And here we have molecular solids. We have molecules or atoms, right? The constituent particles are molecules or atoms. So ionic solids, the constituent particles are ions, that is cations or anion. Metallic solids, the constituent particles are metal atoms. Covalent solid, they are non-metal atoms. And here we have molecules or ions, right? Now the second point of difference is we have force of attraction. The force of attraction in case of ionic solids, we know that ionic solids, they have strong force of attraction, or in other words, we can say they have strong electrostatic force of attraction. So we can say the force of attraction is very strong in case of ionic bonds, because they have positive and negative ions. So we can say they have strong electrostatic force of attraction, right? Here we have in metal atoms, we have metallic bond. The bond is between the metals, so we call it metallic bond. I'll explain you metallic bonds. Here we have covalent compounds. You must have studied about covalent compounds. So here what kind of bonds? Covalent bonds. Simple. And here we have molecular solids. We have van der Waals forces of attraction. Weakest forces of attraction, that is van der Waals. When we'll discuss the types of molecular solids, I'll be explaining you how van der Waals forces of attraction are present in each of the molecular solids. Third, we have the melting and boiling point. Since the forces of attraction are strong, therefore the melting and boiling point are also strong. Here, metallic bonds. I mean, since the forces of attraction are strong, the melting and boiling point should be high, right? The melting and boiling point should be high. Here, in case of metallic solids, we have again high melting and boiling point. High melting and boiling point. Next we have So here we know that the covalent bonds, right? Covalent bonds exist, non-metal atoms. Since the forces of attraction, the bonds are, they are not strongly bind. They are not very strong in nature, but these solids are very hard in nature, and since the bonds, the type of bonds, they are not very strong, but the melting and boiling point of these solids, they are very high. They have very high melting and boiling point. For example, diamond, graphite. For example, diamond, silica, not graphite. For example, diamond, silica. Even the melting and boiling point of these solids, they are so high that the melting and boiling point of these solids, they are so high that sometimes what happens is they reach such a high temperature that they start decomposing before getting melt before melting. They start decomposing, right? So these are covalent solids. Here the melting point and boiling point, because van der Waals forces, and we know these are weak forces, so low. Melting and boiling point is low. Next we have conductance. Now what is conductance? We have conductance. Now what happens? We know that ionic solids, they are solids, so there is no free movement of electrons. So therefore they do not conduct electricity. They behave as insulators, right? But what happens here is, in case of like in molten state, like when we have NaCl, molten NaCl, they exist as Na positive and Cl minus. So in case of molten state, they behave as a good conductor of electricity. But in solid state, they act as insulators. Now if we talk about the conductance of metallic solids, its conductance is highest. I'll explain you how. See, what happens is, we know that metallic solids, they have metallic bonds between them. So what happens here? Suppose we have iron 2 plus. So what happens? This iron Fe gets converted into Fe2 plus ion by losing 2 electrons. So here electrons, suppose we have one more iron, so electrons. So what happens here is, suppose we have iron, a molecule of iron, Fe2 plus, so it has 2 electrons. Suppose we have one more molecule of iron, it has electrons. Suppose we have one more molecule of iron, so it also has electrons. So what happens? So we don't have only one molecule of electrons, we have many electrons, many molecules of electrons. So due to which we get a sea of electron. We get a sea of electron which is responsible for its high conductance. So therefore they have the highest conductance, right? Next we have covalent solids. They are non-metals, so therefore they are least or very low. Similarly, van der Waals forces, so they also have very low. Let us discuss about the examples, right? Ionic solids, very famous, right? NaCl, KCl, ZnS, CaF2. These are all examples of ionic solids, right? Next we have next example we have metallic solid. We have iron, we have zinc, we have copper, right? Aluminium. These are the example of metallic solids, right? Next we have covalent solids. For example, I have already told you the examples. Diamond, silica. Silica means mitti. Silica, very very high melting and boiling point. Silica. Next we have H2, O2, right? CO2, water, HF. These are all examples of I2, P4, S8. This is just a minute. I2, P4, S8. These are all the examples of molecular solids, right? I hope this much is clear to you. Now, next we have the types of molecular solids. This was all about the types of crystalline solids, but actually molecular solids, they are further categorized into 3 parts, right? Let's discuss about that. Let us discuss one by one the types of molecular solids. We have 3 types of molecular solids. Types of molecular solids, right beta? The first type of molecular solid is non-polar molecular solid. Non-polar molecular solid. Right? We have non-polar molecular solid. As the name suggests, non-polar. Actually, the forces of attraction between these type of molecules are London forces, weak dispersion forces, or we call them, you must have studied this in class 11th, London forces, weak dispersion forces, and they are non-conductors of electricity, right? They have low melting and boiling point. For example, we have H2, Cl2, I2. They are all bad conductors of electricity, and the kind of forces which exist between them are London forces. Next we have polar molecular solids. Polar molecular solids, in which the solids in which there is some polarity, right? Polar molecular solids in which there is some polarity. For example, HCl, right? HCl is H positive and Cl minus. HF is H positive, F minus. So these are the examples of polar molecular solids. Now polar molecular solids, so the type of forces HF, HCl, HF, the 5 type of forces between them are dipole-dipole interactions. They have dipole-dipole interaction, and these type of molecular solids, they are stronger as compared to non-polar molecular solids because of dipole-dipole interactions between them. Just a very simple, I'm just telling you just for basics. Dipole-dipole interactions. And the last is hydrogen bonded molecular solids. For example, very simple. Hydrogen bonded means you must, where you can see hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonded molecular solids, right? So hydrogen bonding, it's very much visible where? It's visible when we have elements like oxygen, electronegative element like oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine. It's just getting bonded to hydrogen. So in such compounds we see hydrogen bonding. For example, we have water, yes, ice, they are also non-conductors of electricity. Ammonia, they are all the examples of hydrogen bonded molecular solids. This is just, you have to remember that in non-polar molecular solids you have London forces or weak dispersion forces, right? For example, H2, Cl2, I2. In polar molecular solids we have dipole-dipole interaction like HCl, HCl, HF, and third is hydrogen bonded molecular solids where the 3 electronegative elements, they get attached with hydrogen. For example, water, ammonia, right? Next we have lattice. Okay, so the next topic is, after discussing about the types of crystalline solid, now we are going to discuss about the lattice, crystal lattice. What is a lattice? See, basically lattice is a we know that the constituent particles, they are closely packed, right? And that packing is known as lattice. The crystal particles, they are closely packed, and that packing is called as lattice, right? So basically lattice is a 3D arrangement of the constituent particles. Now for example we have, see this. Now suppose if I join these two dots and like this. Yes, if I join these two, just a minute, let me again see. If I join these two, just a minute, like these two, please try to understand this. These four I'm joining just for the sake of simplicity, and I'm joining these, right? Now this actually, this 3D packing, this 3D packing of the particles, the constituent particles, is called as lattice, right? The atoms, they are packed in a 3-dimensional, like this, a cube. So this is called as lattice, right? And this whole is known as cubic lattice. For example, we have this. See, this is how, this is a lattice structure. Like this, see, there are so many cubes. Like for example, here also, if I want one more cube, I can just simply, what I can do, just simply extend this line. I can simply, what I can do, bache, simply extend this line. Simply extend this line and like this. Just a minute, like let me do it this side. If I simply extend this line, and if I do like this, I'll get, see, just forget about it. Just a minute. I'll explain to it. What happens here, this one cube, but if I want another other cubes as well, what do? I need to just simply extend this line, join these 2 points, right? And I have to join these 2 points and join this. Join these 2 points, this, join these two, and we'll get a cube, right? So this is how we get a cubic lattice. This is a cubic lattice, right? This is a cubic lattice. But now see, this is a lattice structure. When different cubes, they are linked to each other in a 3-dimensional structure. Now if I take only one cube, a single cube, this single cube is known as unit cell. This is called as a lattice structure, a whole lattice, like a whole packing of the constituent particles in a 3D structure. What is lattice? That is 3D arrangement of the constituent particles. But now what is a unit cell? Unit cell is one 3D arrangement. If I just take one cube out of all the cubic boxes that you can see here, if I just take simple one cube, and if I just keep on repeating this unit cell, I'll get a lattice structure. If I just keep on repeating this unit cell, left, right, below, up, so what happens? We'll get a lattice structure. So what is a unit cell? Unit cell is the smallest 3D unit. Now what is a unit cell? But just unit cell is the smallest 3D unit. Which can form lattice, smallest 3D unit which can form lattice after repetition. For example, if we want to make a house, what do we do for making a house? We need to keep on adding the bricks one by one, right? We keep on adding the bricks, and once we have a small cubic brick, like this. I have to add a brick to its right and to its left. I have to add a brick to its above and its below, right? And when we keep on adding the bricks, we'll get a wall, and on combining all the walls, we'll get one house ready, right? This is how it works. Simple for solid state. That one unit cell, like that brick. Compare this unit cell with a brick. That one unit cell, when it keeps on repeating itself, will get a lattice structure. I hope this much is clear to you.